Another day, another device from Honor, or at least that's what it seems like lately. This is a company that is incredibly prolific, putting out phones left, right and center. The Honor 8X though is still a very interesting device. It's another device from the company that manages to offer impressive looking specs on paper at a relatively low price. Normally when reviewing a device like this, I'd run through the features and the specs and tell you what was there, what wasn't, what was good and what was bad. However, a few people in the comments have said that when it's a very cheap device, it just sounds like I'm complaining. So in this video, I'm going to try something a little bit different. This time I'm going to run through all the specs and the features, and then I'm going to say if what you're getting is good value or bad value or just average given the price tag of the Honor 8X. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so first up is the screen, and this is a fantastic screen given the price. So it's a full HD IPS LCD display, nothing to write home about there, but what's impressive is the size. This is a 6.5 inch display, it's a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio, and it's got very thin bezels with an 84.4% screen to body ratio. So what you're getting here is really phablet territory. It's a really big display that's fantastic if you like reading Kindle on there, or Marvel Comics, or watching YouTube or Netflix. This is a great screen, and I'd say one of the big selling points of this device. If you want a big screen and you don't have the cash for say a Note or a Galaxy S9 Plus, then this is a great alternative. Next up is the design, and this is also really impressive actually. It is a aluminium and glass body. I misreported that in the Realme 2 Pro review. I'm very sorry, I misread some of the materials that I'd been provided with. This time it really is glass, and it looks the part, it feels the part. In fact, I'd say there's nothing about this device that would give away the fact that it isn't significantly more expensive. It feels weighty and cool in the hand, it's nicely curved, and of course it's got that reflective back panel that Honor's really known for. I love my red model, it really stands out without being ostentatious. Slim bezels are just the icing on the cake to present a overall fantastic looking and feeling device. The performance, this is smack bang in the middle average what you'd expect for the price. I can't test the performance in the ways I normally would by using benchmark apps because I'm unable to download and install them, and Tutu, Geekbench, they just won't install. You might have heard recently that Huawei and Honor have caught some flack for trying to trick benchmark apps and fake their scores, making their devices look faster than they really are. Their defense for this was just, well, everyone does it, but that's a little bit tenuous and it certainly leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth. I don't know what's going on here. Either the apps are no longer letting Huawei and Honor phones download and use them, or worse, Huawei or Honor are preventing us from downloading benchmark apps at all now, so we can't test how fast our devices are. Fortunately, I can tell you that the Kirin 710 SoC that's in here is going to perform roughly equivalent to a Snapdragon 660, probably just below that. So don't expect top of the range performance here. Occasionally I notice the odd stutter, the odd pause in an animation when going through the UI. Nothing major, but it is occasionally there. In terms of gaming, you're relying on a Mali G51 GPU, and it's perfectly adequate for playing pretty much all games on the Play Store, but it is a mid to lower end GPU, so expect to see a few dropped frames if you have it on the higher graphical settings. But like I say, for most people that's not a problem. This is no beast gaming phone, and don't even get me started on GPU Turbo. That only affects the couple of games like PUBG that it's optimized for, and even then you're seeing slightly increased frame rate stability, barely noticeable. GPU Turbo is a bit of a marketing gimmick. Battery performance is very good for the price. This has a 3750 mAh battery, which is large enough in its own right, but if you combine that with the energy efficient Kirin 710 SoC, you have a device that lasts a very long time in spite of that large screen. Okay, but what's arguably bad even at this price is micro USB. Yes, we saw it on the Realme 2 Pro, but I didn't like it there either. In 2018, this just makes no sense. Other OEMs are managing to give us USB Type-C for a low price, and even the Honor 8 had USB Type-C, so this is just balmy to me. Is it a big deal? Probably not for a lot of people. After all it's going to do is slow down your transfer speeds a little bit and your charging times. However, it does make your device less future-proof. It does mean you're potentially going to have to carry extra leads around with you, and it's just backwards facing, and it's really a bit of a mar on what's otherwise a very forwards facing design. Software-wise, I'm going to say this is average again. You get Android 8.1 with EMUI on top. If you've used an Honor or a Huawei device before, then you know what to expect. I'm not a huge fan of some of the aesthetic decisions here, but most of those you can cover up with a custom launcher anyways. It does, in my opinion, maybe slow things down a little bit. Maybe performance would be slightly better if it was stock Android, but again, it's not a big issue. A lot of people like EMUI, so average. We do have NFC, which you don't always get on devices for this price point. That of course means you can use contactless payment apps, etc. That's going to be very welcome for a lot of people. Also, we have a headphone jack, good. Also, dual SIM, good. Notch, some people like it, some people don't. At least you can turn it off in the settings if you're in the latter camp. IP rating, there is none, to be expected. Camera. So you see, this is the problem with trying to put everything into neat little boxes. The camera has pros and cons, and for some people it'll be a plus, and for some people it'll be a minus. So on the plus side, this has a good megapixel count. The rear shooter is 20 megapixels, backed up by a 2 megapixel depth sensor. So this will bring out a fair amount of detail. Of course, it means you can do bokeh and portrait mode, etc. Low light performance isn't fantastic, however, and there's no optical stabilization, but then you would expect that. And of course, you've got all that AI scene recognition layered on top. Now, this is a little bit of a contention because AI scene recognition is very hit and miss. Sometimes, occasionally, I think it does enhance a photo, but other times I think it just ups the saturation to the point where things look actually fake and absurd. A lot of the time, you'll do better to just turn off the AI mode. I always say with Honor and Huawei cameras that they're really good if you put the work in, but if you don't, they can occasionally come out looking a bit, like I say, oversaturated with the AI mode. Even with AI mode off, they're occasionally a bit warm. Around the front, you get a 16 megapixel selfie camera, and I think that's actually pretty generous. I do like to have a decent front-facing camera. You can do portrait mode from both sides, and normally I actually find that Honor phones are among the best when it comes to the portrait mode, but whether it's the new SoC or what, I don't know. I haven't found that to be quite the case here. So that's the Honor 8X, and I've listed off all the things that are good and bad and average, and I'd say that on the whole, there's more good here than bad. It has a great design, a really big punchy screen, a fairly average performance, and a fairly average camera. As I've said lately, there's so much to choose from in the mid and lower range at the moment. This is a fantastic time to buy an Android phone for a little bit less cash. And that means you have the luxury of being able to pick and choose the features that really matter to you. The Honor 8X is fantastic for people who like consuming media on their device, who don't have a huge budget, and who are happy to play around with a camera that isn't always fantastic. The big downside is the micro USB, but that's probably not going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people. If it is, then there's plenty else out there to choose from. So I hope you found this video useful and interesting, guys. If you did, then please leave a like, please share it around. That really helps us out. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Honor 8X. Is it a good option for you? How big of an issue is micro USB? What do you think of the design in the screen? Do you like it? And of course, hit subscribe if you want to get more like this, and the bell button for notifications, or head over to androidauthority.com where you can read Rob's full written review that goes into a bit more detail. Whilst you're there, of course, take a look around, for we are your source for all things Android.